As you probably can see on here, I have some daisies drawn in. And then up here I was sketching what I thought to be black-eyed Susies. And then I whipped out a picture from my gardening blog of the black-eyed Susans that I grow to give me a better idea. But one thing I did notice in one picture was you can see the greenery behind, and I thought I would put some of that in, some faint background greenery. And what I mean by faint is it's transparent, but it's there. So I have some glazing medium. You can use floating medium. And I'm putting it on my brush. And then I have thicket and fresh foliage. And I'm just diluting the paint down to a transparent consistency. And then I'm just going to bring in some stems. They're going to be lighter, more transparent here and there. That will sit in the background. Now I'm going over where I drew the black-eyed Susans, and I don't want that quite that tall. I don't want them to be stacked the same height. I want to vary the height. So this one, I think this one needs to be much taller, more medium, going into the paint just a touch, and then just bring that down. And then it has these little spiky things on it, which are really seed pods. In the background, that is a larkspur that has gone to seed. But you notice how I'm just making this a faint green. It's very transparent. And I'm just giving an indication of greenery back there. You could also do frothy greenery in the background with a sponge or something like that. And I guess I could show you that instead of just telling you. Let me grab a sponge. So here is the sponge. I'm getting some glare out from my window. And I'm just getting some of that paint into the sponge. And I'm going to tap it off a little bit. I don't want it to be just harsh edges. I want to keep it very light, and I'm just got too much of the thicket. I'm gonna go off, not go off, but I'm gonna pounce some off. I'm turning my sponge where I'm not getting a lot of that thicket, and that just puts some airy greenery to the background of all the flowers. This is totally optional. You don't have to do this. Just gives the indication that there's more greenery in the background. If ever it gets to be where it's too stark or you don't like it, you can go over it. This was a warm white or a vintage white. Let me see. Here's warm white. It's a little tough. I'm at the end of it, so again, you don't want hardly any in your sponge. Got a little bit, and then I'm going pouncing it off, and it just diffuses that just a touch. Be light-handed. Try not to go over your blue flowers. And you just put some frothy greenery toward the back. Okay, you can bring it down here. And that's just some faint hints there. So I tossed my sponge into my caddy, my water caddy, and now we can start on our black-eyed Susans. Now I'm going to put in the cap, the cone, but it's just the base to where I'm going to pull my other flowers from. Not other flowers, but the other parts from. So I have real brown. You could also use burnt umber. And I'm just going to put the base coat of it. It's just a little hump, so to speak. a little too tall for my taste. I'm going to take it down a bit. I think I need the 10 brush. I get a little heavy-handed. Yep, that's better. Little heavy-handed. So go for the number 10, or you could go for a filbert, whatever you find comfortable, whatever works for you. There's no rhyme or reason as far as, oops, got that glare. I should block that window. To get the shape, and as you learn to paint, you know some people are more heavy-handed than others, like me, and you know your deficiencies, so you can work with it and go for a smaller brush if you need to. So there is that. Now they're not a cone shape, they're usually rather flat and round. Almost like a daisy, but not quite. So I don't remember drawing one in over here, but we could do that. Maybe I'll put one over here. Can be coming to the side out here. The Black-Eyed Susans, the yellow will go really well. This one is a partial flower. It's pointing upwards. And we can do like another one right here. Now I'm getting them all in the same plane. I'm not like it. Well, I guess I can bring this one down a little bit lower. Just a little bit lower. That one's a little bit taller. Stagger the height as best as you can. And then I think I'll do one over here. Okay, that's basically getting those in there. That one was, that paint was a little watery. Okay, so we have our Black-Eyed Susie's centers in. Now these ones I'm going to have a golden color in the daisies, so we'll wait to do those. All right. Now I could put in the stems of my Black-Eyed Susan. So we're going to go into the wicker, what am I saying? The thicket and the fresh foliage. And I can see that's the bottom of the petal, and just bring it down. It's a little too thick, so I'm going to be lighter handed over here. Lighter handed here. Just indications. They don't have to come all the way to the bottom, because you know what? People don't even notice where your stems end up, and we're going to have other flowers in here. Now you see I painted the back of the basket there. We'll do something with that to obscure it. And all is good. So we'll let that kind of gel. Think what I'm going to do next. You know what, I can come in and I can do the petals on my daisies. Now I'll do an undercoat, and I can do that with a yellow. That kind of helps the white to really pop a little more. And I'm trying to find my yellow ochre. Sometimes I use yellow ochre, and sometimes I use a gray to underpaint. All I have is my yellow ochre in the enamel, but let's give it a whirl. Could also try a brighter yellow, but the yellow ochre seems to me to be a really good. Now you could do these also with a filbert. I'm just going to use my number 10 flat, and I'm just going to bring in the petals. Now remember, this is the underpainting of our daisy petals. We're going to go over this with white. We're just getting an undercoat put on here. And I drew in so I wouldn't get, sometimes I get tendency to get my daisies too large or out of whack. So I kind of drew in my daisy and petals. And I'm just pulling these up to, now I have my brush at an angle. If you notice, I'm kind of angling it where the corner starts at the end and not flat. And that gives me a little bit more of a daisy petal shape. At least it does to my mind. So this one's going to overlap slightly, those blue flowers, that's fine. You notice I'm not going straight in and out. I'm curving in towards the middle. And then this, and this is a short one. When it's facing away from you, like it's, the flower is facing away, this would be shorter in the back. And when they're facing towards you, then they're shorter in the front. So that gives your eye a means of deciding which way that flower is pointing. Okay. We've got our under petals going here. If you want to add a little bit more color, go right ahead. And this helps also the white to cover the dark underneath, the dark color. Better. Okay, so there are our few daisies. This spot looks empty, but I'm not sure what I want to put there yet. So we'll go with that. Okay, so we can also now do our Black-Eyed Susan petals, and we'll undercoat those with the yellow ochre as well. But we'll go over top of them with a bright yellow. So it's going to be different than the daisies. Okay, so let's bring some petals in to our Black-Eyed Susies. Oops, I got something in my paint. Oh, a hair. All right, it's still in there, doggone it. Okay, so this one. Yep, and this one is coming towards, like it's just starting to open up. Now you notice I made those top ones shorter. They're like they're pointing the other way, or it's, you know, they're shorter back there. And one more. And there are our Black-Eyed Susies. Okay, whoops. We will let this all dry and then we'll come back for the next section.